for stress relief, breathe easy. For those I haven't met before, my name is Jodi. A few things before we get started. Please feel free to either keep your camera on or off. Either way, it's lovely to have you. I know that you're there. And so there are some things I have around me that I'll invite you to get yourself set up with. As I mentioned, a blanket, cozy socks. I have a bolster. If you have cushions or anything like that, I highly recommend it. Yoga strap or something that can be used as a strap. And I also have a chair. And so as we get settled in the beginning of class, we always start in a seated position. In this series, we will be doing that every time. And so I really invite you to just think about your own comfort. If you're better in a chair, if that's easier on the knees, please do that. I'm in Sukhasana, easy pose with a bolster supporting my pelvis. You could also take 2 blocks and put them underneath you for supported hero pose. And I'll just demonstrate that real quick. So taking 2 blocks stacked on top of one another beneath the sit bones. And I'd like you to just please keep in mind, this is something I'll reiterate, but feel free to modify and change your posture at any time you need to. So the priority is always your comfort. Anything I offer is a suggestion. So modify, change things as you need to. We're really creating a space here to practice together. If you're breathing and moving and taking some time to connect with yourself in a mindful way, you're doing our yoga practice. So please feel free to adapt and make it your own. We'll go ahead and get settled in. So I'll invite everyone to take 3 deep breaths just to land. And as you do so, to take a moment to look around your space, orienting to the room around you. And then if it feels comfortable to do so, to let your eyes settle on the ground in front of you or drift closed. And here I'll make a suggestion that you place one hand over the chest and one hand over the abdomen. And we'll begin to focus on our breathing, welcoming into awareness the waves of breath moving through the body. And as we begin today's practice, taking a moment to notice what is the quality of my breath today. Is there depth, or is it rather shallow? Seeing if we can hold in awareness with curiosity and openness, without judgment or evaluation. If that comes up, just let that thought pass through. What we're getting curious is the abdomen moving out with the inhale. Does it feel like the breath is reaching deep into the lungs, or is it mainly in the chest? As we hold in awareness the way our breath is moving today, I'll invite you to breathe in through the nose and begin to breathe out through the mouth. As we use the breath as an anchor to settle our awareness, settle our attention, I'll invite you here to begin to exhale from the back of the throat. So when we breathe in deeply, and when we exhale, it's released with an open mouth like a sigh from the back of the throat. So what we're practicing is the victorious breath. And as we exhale, that long, soft exhale coming like a sigh from the back of the throat, I'll invite you to begin to contact any areas of tightness or holding in the body. Just bringing awareness to any tension that's here. And also getting curious about any areas that are feeling easeful. And with that long exhale from the back of the throat, I invite you to send a message for that tension, wherever it's being held, to release as much as it will with the exhale. So as we breathe in, imagining that expansion of the lungs, air flowing through the body, making contact with any areas of tension, and with a long, soft exhale, inviting the muscles of the neck to release, to relax as much as they will, the shoulders, and the jaw, the area around the eyes. Taking a moment to notice this tension in the body. If it had a color, what color would that be? And as we exhale, releasing, inviting a melting of that tension in the body. Imagine it releasing through the mouth in a mist of that color. So breathing in deeply and inviting the tension in the body to release as much as it will and flow out into the air around you. Giving it permission to be here, allowing it to be here, held in awareness, and also allowing release. Letting it be carried by the breath into the space around you. We'll take 3 more cycles of breath in this way. Breathing in deeply, feeling the abdomen rise with the breath, with a full exhale, inviting the body to soften, inviting the body to land in this space, the beginning of our practice. And as you're ready, releasing the hands and again opening the eyes if they're not already open and orienting yourself to the space around you, noticing the way light falls in your space, taking a moment to see if there are any sounds that come into your awareness, and setting that gentle intention to be here now. When we notice our mind wandering in the practice, we can use these cues of what we see around us, what we hear, to bring us back. So we'll always take the similar structure with our classes where we start with a seated meditation, we'll move into gentle movement, there will be a little bit of heat building in the practice, we'll come back to breath work, cool down, and end in Shavasana. But within that structure, we're always going to be thinking of stress in the body in terms of both the accelerator, so when things pick up, that activation, and the break, decompression. And so we'll be cycling through that. A little bit of charge, a little bit of discharge. And so with that in mind, if you're needing a little more break, please slow it down, modify. If you're wanting more heat, add movement, move a little faster. That's really within your control. So that being said, finding again a comfortable seat. If you'd like to modify your position, feel free. But we'll begin by placing our left hand beside us on the ground and reaching the right arm up and overhead. And here our aim is to extend through the side body, creating length, especially around the lower ribs, and sending breath into that area. So whenever I'm offering the aim of the pose, if there's a movement you prefer or that is more comfortable in your body, feel free to do that instead. We're breathing in deeply, sending our breath to the area of the low ribs where the diaphragm muscle is, the muscles of breath, which we'll be working on loosening and opening today through a combination of contraction and release. One more deep breath into the side here. And then we'll flow back up through center and lower the right arm down, left arm over. And again, sending our breath to the low ribs and getting curious. How is it feeling in this area of the body today? As we extend through the side body, thinking of those low ribs opening like Venetian blinds, inviting some circulation into that area that often gets constricted throughout the day. One more deep breath here. And then back up through center and slowly lowering the arms down. And we'll do sun breaths now, inhaling to raise the arms overhead, letting the eyes move up to see the fingertips touching overhead, a gentle expansion in the throat. Then with a slow exhale, slowly lowering the hands down, tucking the chin and looking at your lap. And repeating that 3 more times, following your own breath. So as we inhale, we feel the lungs expand, our arms open to either side. It's opening across the chest. And as we exhale, slowly lowering the hands down. One last repetition here, getting curious how we feel in the shoulders, how our mobility in the arms is feeling today. Taking it slowly, checking in. And then as we settle the hands back in the lap, we're going to roll the shoulders up, back, and down. Really helpful, simple movement to reset the tension in the shoulders. Doing small or large circles. And again, this curiosity. How is it feeling at the front of the shoulders, the back? Taking a moment to switch directions, now rolling the shoulders forward. Great, and now raising the hands up overhead again and preparing for a gentle twist. So here we'll turn to the left and slowly lower our right hand down to the left thigh and let our gaze flow over the left shoulder. So a gentle seated twist, keeping the pelvis stable in our seat, not cranking or forcing the body, gently easing into the twist, breathing deeply. This is a great release for the diaphragm. Doing this regularly increases lung capacity, letting that breath flow a little deeper into the lungs. Releasing back through center, lifting the arms back up overhead, and then turning to the right and slowly lowering the left hand down to the right thigh. And again, if the neck permits, gazing over the right shoulder and feeling into that area of the low ribs. Is there a lot of tension there? Is it feeling flexible or a little bit rigid, a little bit stuck? And either way, just noticing that, no judgment, it's just our starting point today. Staying connected with the breath, letting the left shoulder relax down. One more breath here. And with our next inhale, coming back up through center, arms overhead, and slowly lowering them down. So I'm going to move my blocks and I'm coming into a position for cat and cow, which is essentially just rounding and arching the back. And I'm going to do that from a position of knees and hands. But if you would like to do that in your chair, the main idea is just to flow through the movements of arching and extending in the spine. If you're wanting to do this on the hands and knees. You can support the knees with a blanket. That's often helpful. And then setting yourself up to have the hands beneath the shoulders if you're on the ground. And we'll just begin this gentle arch and rounding of the spine. Now I invite you to move at your own rhythm, finding a pace that works for you, and being very respectful of the spinal column here. Sending awareness through the spine, and just noticing, is it the arch, our cat posture, or the cow that feels more easeful? Letting that wave of movement move through the spine. Seeing if we can create some fluidity so that energy can move up the spinal column, this central axis of our central nervous system. Sending a wave of care and interest. How is my spine doing today? And when you're ready, beginning to do intuitive movement. So we've been arching and extending, moving from cat and cow. And now I'll invite you to do little circles or move in any way your body feels compelled to here, with this idea of inviting some gentle movement and fluidity into the spine, the muscles supporting the spinal column. Just checking in. Often when arching the back, it can feel quite good to hold for a few breaths, breathing into any areas that feel a little bit of tightness or constriction. If you find that spot that feels like it could use some breath medicine and support, breathing into it. When you're ready, coming back to a straight spine, and then preparing to move the shoulder and hip towards one another, beginning on the right side. So letting the body take a C shape. Again, this extension through the side body. If you want to deepen this C shape, you can move your hands a little over to the right, feeling that extension from the hip to the shoulder, sending your breath there. Then slowly walking the hands through center and then over to the left to repeat on the other side. And if you're in a chair, you can just extend your side and create that same C shape we're looking for here. Breathing into the side body, getting curious about the outer hip on the right now. How is it feeling to create space in the muscles here? Then slowly coming back through center, I'm going to move my blanket aside, preparing to move into a downward dog. And so for this, placing the hands beneath the shoulders but a little ahead. You can also place your hands on a chair and do this in a supported way. So you'd be pushing into the base of the chair instead. But as we lift up into our down dog, taking a moment to pedal out the heels, inviting length through the back of the legs. The hips are elevated. We have this nice long line from the hips to our hands. And here pressing into the mat, the yoga mat or the chair, as if you're pushing it away. And this is creating length through the spine. And as we pedal out the heels, checking in with our hamstrings, our calf muscles, there's no need to fully extend the legs, just bringing the heels as close to the ground as feels comfortable for you. We'll settle in here for one more cycle of breath. And then preparing to move into a high lunge, I'm going to bend my knees and step my right foot forward. Doesn't need to be a big step. And here you can take blocks or have the chair nearby to support your weight. If using blocks, bringing them under the shoulders and taking a moment here with the knee above the ankle to settle into this high lunge position and gently rock back and forth. So pressing into the heel, feeling this gentle movement. And this is a calf stretch. So if you'd like to do this against the wall, just by putting your toes against the wall and gently stretching out the calf, you can also do that. One more breath here, this gentle rocking. And we can feel that we're building heat and activating. Now stepping that left foot forward, coming into a forward fold. So gently folding the upper body over the legs. Here clasping the elbows and taking a moment of decompression. Nice big exhale. Seeing if it feels good to sway. We can keep a generous bend in the knees here. Finding some fluidity and letting the upper body be heavy, hanging towards the floor. These forward folds are very calming, very soothing, tend to invite that gentle break for the central nervous system, slowing down. With your next inhale, coming up halfway, straightening the spine to be parallel to the floor, and then exhaling, folding, and then slowly rolling up to a standing position, raising the arms overhead. Then I'll invite you to lift one hand at a time, almost as if we're climbing. A gentle extension of one arm at a time. Gaze up towards the ceiling as if you're climbing or maybe pulling a rope down. And then slowly releasing the hands down to either side and coming back into a forward fold. Inhaling to halfway lift and exhaling to fold again. And this time we're going to step into a lunge now for the other side. So stepping the right foot back, making sure my ankle is beneath my right knee. I'm going to gently do that same rocking motion. Pressing into the right heel, pressing it back towards the wall behind me to get that nice stretch for the calf muscle. All the while my left foot is pressing into the mat. And I can feel this heat building, this engagement in the muscles of the thighs. We'll take 2 more cycles of breath here. And then again, stepping the right foot forward, coming through forward fold, half lift, exhaling back into forward fold, and then slowly at your own rhythm, rolling back up. Bringing the arms up overhead, joining them, and then slowly bringing them back down through center to settle into our mountain pose. Taking a moment here to reorient to the space around you. What do you see? What do you hear? Reorienting to the feeling of the ground beneath your feet. And from here, we'll gently swing the arms from side to side, taking a moment to discharge energy. Just checking in, inviting some fluidity, noticing Where is their tension? Where is their ease? How is the body doing? Then coming back through center. You can stay at the head of your mat. I'm going to come to face the camera so you can see a little better my movement. From here, we're going to bring the fingertips up in front of the chest and just take a moment to tap on the chest. The area just beneath the clavicle. And always, if there's touch invited, it's only if you feel comfortable. So feel free to ignore this aspect. And then from here, we're going to open the arms out to either side, opening across the chest, gently lifting the chin up, feeling this wide expansion across the chest, making room for the lungs. And with a slow exhale, crossing one arm over the other and placing the fingers on the back of the shoulder blades or as close as feels comfortable. And here, with this containment, we'll slowly roll it forward and bend the knees as much as you'd like. So we're arching, or I should say, rounding the back, curling forward, and coming into compression in this contracted shape, bending the knees, tucking the chin. And then at our own rhythm, slowly unfurling, coming back to standing, opening the arms, creating that space across the chest, gaze towards the ceiling. And I'll invite you to do this 3 more times at your own rhythm. When we cross the arms, crossing the opposite arm over, slowly rounding the back, curling forward, coming back into that contained, small, rounded shape, contraction, and then slowly pressing into the ground at your own rhythm, opening, expansion, inviting space into the chest. Moving at your own rhythm, finding what works for you. But again, this care flowing through the spine. How does it feel? Does it want a smaller movement or a larger movement? Checking in and feeling when we round and lower the body, that long extension from the tailbone all the way up into the brainstem, the back of the neck. Giving our spinal column some breathing room. And when we open, this lovely expansion across the chest. So at your own rhythm, finding a way to come back to standing and reconnecting with your breath, noticing the flow through the body. And we're going to take a moment here to do a little bit of activation. And you can do this against the floor in plank, but what I'll demonstrate is doing it against the wall. And so what I'm going to do is find a stance that's comfortable, where you feel connected to the ground and have some bend in your knees. This is one of the somatic experiencing exercises. We'll be integrating them throughout the course. So I'm going to place both hands against the wall and for a moment connect to that accelerator energy, pushing into the wall. So taking a moment, we're going to do this in 3 rounds, about 5 seconds with the hands braced next to each other to push into the wall. Feel the strength of the arms. Engaging for about 5 seconds, and then releasing completely. Noticing the rebound, maybe rolling the wrists, releasing any tension there. And then again, coming to the wall, pressing your hands into it, pushing for 5 seconds, feeling your power and vitality here, that energy engagement. And then releasing, noticing the energy flow through the arms, the change, any sensations in the legs, maybe even tingling, getting curious about that. And one last round, pushing both hands into the wall, engaging as much as feels comfortable for you right now in pressing into that wall, feeling the strength in your upper body, the stability in your legs. And then coming back to standing and releasing. Getting curious, is there tingling? What are the sensations in the body? And as we fully discharge that activation, we're going to be doing it through gentle shaking. So thank you for your trust and engaging in some of the somatic exercises that are a little different. But we're going to begin with the head and just gently, as if your head is fluidly moving from side to side, and as much as comfortable, you know your body, letting the head move, and then letting the shoulders move, finding fluidity, almost as if we're shaking water off the body. We're going to let that gentle shaking move down into the feet. You can make sound here. It's quite satisfying to sound the exhale. Can be silly, have fun with it. Lift one foot at a time, just gently shaking it out. Letting the energy of the body discharge. Imagine you're shedding it like water falling off of your skin. Letting that go. Then coming back to mountain for a moment here, we're going to do a balance posture. So a basic one and then a little more advanced. And so if you'd like to do this near a wall where you can reach out and balance yourself or have a chair nearby, I recommend that. We'll start with just grounding the left foot down and experimenting and lifting the right leg. Finding our center. How does this feel to balance on one foot? What's available to me today? Taking a little break, both feet on the ground, and then coming again, and this time moving into tree. So we can place our right foot against the ankle or up against the inner thigh, feeling out what works well for you. And then once you have that steadiness, extending the arms up and out, taking a moment to feel that left foot root into the ground. Again, that wide openness across the front of the chest, making room for the lungs. Feeling that breath move through. We'll take 3 cycles of breath here. The fingertips can join overhead. Full palms can join overhead, finding what works for you. Maybe even bringing to mind a visual of your favorite tree. Maybe it would be the sugar maples. Bright red, they're so gorgeous right now. With your next exhale, slowly coming back to center and preparing to do that on the other side. So first, that experimentation, pressing the right foot down and lifting, just seeing how can I find my center? How does it feel to balance on one foot? Finding that center of gravity and taking a little break, and then moving into tree pose. Whatever variation you prefer. Imagining, if imagery is appealing to you, roots anchoring down through the right foot. Keeping your chin tucked slightly. We can have a gaze focused on a point, a still point across from us. It's often helpful for balance. Feeling that stability, that grounding, as well as this upward lift, this opening across the chest. And then releasing down. And so from there, we're going to be doing eagle pose. And so with eagle, the arms are one across the other, right? Just like we've done before, but then we bring the hands together. And so whatever variation of that feels comfortable for you, it might just be that the arms are crossed. And if that's the case, that's really enough. What we're looking for is a stretch in the rhomboids between the shoulder blades, an excavation in there. So our first eagle, we'll do the right arm crossed over and bend the knees, bringing the hands as close together as we feel comfortable. Finding our stability here, feeling into that opening behind the shoulders, and only if it's appealing, seeing if we can bring the right leg over the left, crossing the right thigh over the left, and bringing the toes as close to our calf as possible. So knowing losing the balance is really part of the practice here. We're just breathing with this, imagining ourselves as an eagle, perched, feeling the stability of the ground, contact with the ground. One more breath. And then releasing fully, taking a moment just to swing the arms from side to side, checking in with the body, noticing, is there a movement I'm craving? If we're staying with the eagle theme, maybe I need some more of that open arms, wing expansion. But if you're ready, grounding into both feet, and this time taking the left arm over, finding those clasped hands, breathing into the back body. 70% of our lungs is actually in the back body. We can feel that movement of the breath against the ribs. Bending the knees, getting a little bit of activation here. And only if it's appealing, experimenting with crossing the left leg over the right knee. Finding our perch, finding that gaze across from you to support the balance. And if your standing leg is straight, you can experiment with bending it slightly, increasing the challenge of the posture. One more full breath here. And then we release fully, coming back through center, taking a moment to give a gentle turn for the wrists and ankles, one direction, and then the other. And then from the top of the mat, we're going to do warrior on either side. So I'm coming to stand in mountain, feeling for a moment the breath moving through the body. And in our mountain posture, seeing if we can find this gentle contraction of the thighs and the abdomen to support this movement towards the center of the body. Connecting to the flow of breath moving through. And with curiosity, noticing the depth of breath here. Has it changed? And then when you're ready, taking a small step back with the right foot. We can keep our feet wide apart for balance. We can make our stance a little smaller. But when you find that feeling of connection to the ground, stability, I'll invite you again just to do a little bit of rocking from front to back. You can imagine you're on a surfboard if that works for you, just feeling connected to your balance, the surface beneath you. And when you're ready, bending that left knee to come over the left ankle and grounding down through the left foot, lifting the arms parallel to one another up overhead for warrior one. And from here, I'm going to offer some variations for our movements. We can also have our hands over the lower back, one over the other. We're just going to open across the chest, but might be good if you're experiencing shoulder issues, seeing what works best for you. And I'll invite you to pulse, extending and bending the knee, Inviting movement and fluidity into the joint, seeing how that feels. We'll do 2 more cycles of breath here. And then coming through to center, we're just going to turn our feet to face the long edge of the mat. So now my feet are about wrist distance apart. If I spread out my hands, my wrists are going to line up with my ankles. And again, whatever works for your body. So you might want to change this in any way. We're going to engage again in a twist with a forward fold here. And so if you'd like to add blocks and place them in front to bring the ground up to you, that's a great suggestion. But we're folding forward, hinging at the hips, and feeling the stretch that gives us in the groin as our body comes parallel to the ground. And only if it's feeling comfortable, we can lower our hands down either to the blocks or the ground in front of us. And take a moment to send breath into the back of the legs here. Imagining our hips gently pressing back towards the wall behind us. Feeling the opening of circulation in the area of the hips here. And if you're interested in adding a twist, then we ground the left hand down and slowly open the right arm out to the side. Our gaze can be towards the side, or if the neck permits, up towards the ceiling. And we'll feel this stretch in the groin here and through the shoulders. And again, checking in with that area of the diaphragm, the low ribs. Take 2 more cycles of breath here, reminding yourself that you're free to come out earlier if that feels good for your body. Your next exhale, slowly coming back through center and lining up the torso to be parallel with the floor, taking a moment to ground through the feet, and then centering the right hand if you're interested in adding a twist, opening now to the left arm coming up overhead, pointing towards the ceiling, and our gaze can be to the side or up towards the ceiling. Remembering to breathe, to feel the stability of the ground beneath you. 2 more cycles of breath here, or coming out at any time you're ready. Slow release wherever you find yourself, coming back through center and then hinging at the hips to come back up to standing. And from here, we're going to pivot that left foot and the right foot to face the right side of the mat. We're going to repeat the warrior on the other side. So again, bending that knee and finding our balance, gently rocking back and forth, feeling the relationship to the ground, noticing the heat in the body. And when we're ready, bending the right knee and adding arms, maybe up overhead, or maybe on the low back, just over the sacrum, one hand over the other. Wherever we find ourselves, feeling the strength of this posture as that right foot grounds down, feeling the vitality flowing through the body as we gently press on the accelerator here. Taking 2 more cycles of breath. And then releasing, turning back to center and slowly walking the feet towards one another. And I'll invite you to check in with your body, see what you need. We're coming to the ground now into a seated posture facing forward. But if there's a movement you're craving or a stretch, this is a great time to welcome that into the body now. And as we move towards the ground, reminding yourself you can always be in a chair. Essentially this posture, we're doing wide angle forward fold. So I love to have a little bit of elevation beneath the hips, lifting the pelvis, and letting the legs fall open. This can also be done in a chair, right? So the idea, this gentle opening if that feels comfortable, and slowly hinging at the hips to fold forward. So we're gently walking the hands in front, taking some nice slow breaths, seeing if we can send our breath deep into the lungs. And maybe again engaging that victorious breath, exhaling from the back of the throat through an open mouth. Enjoying the release that gives for the back body and the neck. And then slowly walking the hands back up and bringing the feet to the ground, just a little wider than hip distance. We're going to do a gentle stretch now for the hips by letting the knees drop slowly from one side to the other. So this is a gentle stretch for the outer hip that you could also find through thread the needle if you wanted to be on your back instead, through pigeon if that felt more comfortable. Remembering you have that choice to slide in a different posture or modify as needed. And if we're here rocking the knees from side to side, I invite you just to notice the massage that gives for the outer right hip, where we tend to store a lot of tension and excess. Just giving that area a chance to get some care, maybe even some release. And then coming back through center when you're ready, finding a comfortable seated position. We'll do a little bit of breath work before settling into Shavasana. And so this is alternate nostril breathing, really great for balancing between the right and left side of the brain, bringing down our stress levels, centering. And the way that we're going to do it now that our air passages hopefully are a little bit more open, we're going to press one side of the nose closed, breathe in, press both sides closed, and then open on the opposite side, breathe out. Breathe in through that opposite side, close, and breathe out through the other. And so we can think of it as a mountain. Breathing in through one side, coming to the top of the mountain, down the other, back up, holding, down the other. And I'll invite you to close your nostril in any way feels most comfortable, but if you'd like, it also works really well to take your index and middle finger and tuck them in towards your palm. And that'll leave your thumb and your pinky and adjacent finger so that we have this nice little clamp, if you will. And so with our little clamp, we're going to go through a cycle of 3 rounds, okay? And so I'm going to be guiding it for you, so I won't do it. But what we'll do is breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 5, and then release for 6, okay? And so if you're interested in this, join me. If you'd rather just do breath awareness work, please feel free. Or if you need to move, move. So we'll begin by blocking the right nostril, breathing in through the left for 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale through the right 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale through the right 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale through the left 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale through the left 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale through the right 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale through the right 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale through the left, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Last round, inhale through the left, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale through the right, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Release. And let your breath take its natural flow. With your eyes closed or settled softly on the ground, just taking a moment to notice the difference in your breath. Taking a moment here too to connect with the body by flowing your energy through the body with some nice natural breaths, not trying to do anything here, just being aware of the breath as your awareness follows its flow, noticing how the neck, the shoulders feel. And when you're ready, taking in the space around you through sight and sound, and we'll prepare to move into Shavasana. So for our Shavasana, I recommend getting as cozy, comfortable, snugly as you can. Some things I'd like you to remember are just that the body will relax more completely the more comfortable and supported it is. And so having warmth as well is really essential to allowing the body to relax. And I also want you to know if you want to come out of Shavasana early, no problem. Start moving. Stillness can be challenging. And so giving yourself permission to relax into it, but also to move if you need to. We can do Shavasana lying on our back. We can also do it lying on our side or lying on the belly in a prone position. So checking in with yourself, what feels more supportive to me? Maybe it's even remaining in a seated position, and that's all right. Do what feels most comfortable for you. I'm going to actually stay in a seated position and guide it, holding space. And so as we settle in, finding whatever position feels most comfortable, also seeing, is there a movement my body is craving as I settle in? Giving yourself permission for that. And as you find your place of comfort, slowly checking in from the feet all the way up to the crown of the head to give the body permission now to rest. Nothing to do. We're releasing any effort here, letting our body relax into the support beneath. We can have our palms open towards the ceiling in a position of relaxed receptivity as we let the body release into the support of the ground. So I'll hold the space here for 2 minutes of silence, allowing you to connect with the breath, with the resource of the ground beneath, allowing the body to soften. If you notice the mind beginning to wander, as it will, minds are made to wander. It's gently inviting our awareness back to the body, back to the breath, support of the ground beneath. As we come to the end of Shavasana, I invite you to take 3 intentional cycles of breath, letting the inhale flow through and the exhale invite a release into the ground. Sending a wave of awareness through the body. One last release into the support beneath. If you'd like to stay in Shavasana, you're more than welcome. If you're feeling ready to slowly welcome movement back into the body, move your hands, move your feet. Slowly let your eyes open, take in the space around you. We'll be concluding our practice today with 3 repetitions of the mantra Om. If you'd like to join me, you're more than welcome. You can also just listen. So slowly coming to a seated position if you would like to join. Coming into fetal position first for a full breath can be helpful. For those who are joining me in the repetition of the mantra Om, I can suggest pressing one hand over the chest and one hand against the abdomen, feeling the life that's here, the flow of breath. This will connect you more deeply to the vibration of the sound moving through. We'll take a deep breath in. Om. That's our practice for today. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, there's a moment if you'd like to